right, we welcome back to the show from ESPN these days, Kaylyn Kahler, and she has taken a break from taking down the NFL Players Association and looking into some of the more unique sides of the National Football League to talk about the 2024 quarterback draft class. We've got Caleb Williams versus JJ McCarthy. Next week, it's JJ McCarthy versus Michael Penix. Kaylin, I think that this is one of the biggest stories of the 2025 NFL season is that we're really going to find out after this year how that 2024 quarterback class that was historic in its 6 draft picks in the first round. I think we're really going to find out how this thing plays out.
Yeah, it's gonna be really exciting. Caleb, I live in Chicago, so I'm like the most excited to see like how Caleb Williams and Ben Johnson do together. And I don't know, I've talked a little bit about it on like other podcasts and radio shows and things. And I feel like Ben is absolutely the right hire and the right coach. But, again, I mean, this is not a unique take. He should have been the coach a year before. Like, the fact that the Bears did that is just still so infuriating and so unbelievable. And like we were talking a little bit before we recorded this, like Zach Keefer had a story in the Athletic about, why how to why organizations keep struggling to find quarterbacks and to develop rookie quarterbacks, which featured heavily Kevin O'Connell and a quote that he gave to, was it Rich Eisen or someone? I might be getting that wrong. A quote that he gave about how organizations feel rookie quarterbacks before rookie quarterbacks or young quarterbacks fail organizations. Which I think I generally definitely agree with that sentiment. And it's interesting. It was interesting to like see Kiefer sort of dive into that because, um, there was a part in the story that was like, I think it was Peyton Manning saying like teams should just realize like this isn't the coach for our quarterback right now that we have, and either do something about that and hire the coach that is, or wait until you have the coach that is to get your quarterback. But I think obviously in the case of Caleb, it was like his talent was like too appealing and he was too good to like let someone else have him, even though I'm sure everyone with the truth serum in the organization knew they did not in fact have the correct coach for him last year. So yeah, and I'm really excited to see JJ McCarthy play real NFL football. Because we have not. No one has. And now Monday night is going to be it. So it's going to be really exciting to see that and to see what happens with them
Yeah,
for
let's talk
sure.
more about nature versus nurture when it comes to this quarterback conversation with Caleb Williams and JJ McCarthy, because when they were both drafted, it was kind of a similar narrative in both cities where it was like, well, you can't do much better for this guy because they had gotten Caleb Williams some receivers and he had some better weapons and they had used the Carolina pick. They weren't the worst team in the NFL that previous year, and they forgot that Matt Eberflus might not be the best guy, and also that Shane Waldron might not be the best guy. But then there's a part of me that says, I get all that, but it's not like Shane Waldron had never been in the NFL before and never had any success with any quarterbacks. And he was just a big old dummy who didn't understand football. And they just said, you know what? Hey, random guy walking on Michigan Avenue, why don't you coach Caleb Williams? Like, this guy had had some success before. That's why they hired him. And when Caleb Williams attempted to run his offense, he looked pretty lost. Like he didn't know where to go with the football. Like his first instinct was to just scramble away and get sacked, which was actually his first instinct in college. He looked a lot like a worse version of Caleb Williams in college. And this is what makes this discussion with McCarthy and Williams so interesting is that they're very opposite. Williams is physical tools, it's freakish playmaking, and then it's trying to harness all that. Where with JJ McCarthy, and it's not that he's not a playmaker, like he is, that's in there, but it's more of the processing, it's more of the mental stuff, it's more of the leadership traits and all those boxes that you want to check with the quarterback position, and then enough physical tools. But the coaching gap is humongous when it comes to Kevin O'Connell having 2 years now with JJ McCarthy, or a full season and now going into year two, versus Williams, who came in and then now has to learn an entire new offense with Ben Johnson. But I still think that if Caleb is actually good, that you overcome these things. Yeah, I believe a little bit less than Kevin O'Connell does that it's always the organization's fault.
Well, and also I think too, like, well, first I have several thoughts, but first thought is I always love seeing it's going to be more interesting now that we know for sure that Caleb and his father loved Kevin O'Connell and the Vikings. It's going to be even more interesting to see their post-game interaction. I mean, I remember last year, what point of the year did they play at Chicago?
At Chicago
Um,
was middle late part of the season.
okay, because I remember after that game, they had like a long interaction post-game too. And it was like, then like Seth Wickersham had not written his book where he exposed that, Caleb and his dad were actually very seriously not wanting to play for the Bears and thinking ways of how they could blow it up and thinking, "Oh, we really like Kevin O'Connell," and all of that. That was before he'd even officially written that, but, like, people had heard things, and so when you saw their interaction post game, it was like, "Oh, what's going on here?" Which is why there were the rumors too. I think we were texting about this of like, are they gonna trade for Kevin O'Connell, the Bears? Like, are they gonna is that what they're gonna try to do here? Which honestly would have been so awesome. Like, I'm upset that that didn't happen and probably was never even considered, but it should have been considered if it if it really wasn't. Like, the Bears really should have been picking up the phone to be like, "Hey, can we what do you guys think? Like, what can we do?" Like an in division trade for a coach would just be so awesome. Um anyways, uh I think the year of JJ McCarthy getting hurt actually, 5 years from now, I think it's going to have been helpful to him actually. Obviously like there's value in Caleb seeing what NFL defenses are like in real life, but also he was sacked a league high, what is it, 68 times, 60 something times
68.
last
Yep.
year. Like that's not good for a lot of reasons, injury reasons. I mean, he didn't get injured, so that's thank God. Like he was healthy, that's okay, that's good. But like not good for injury reasons, not good for like mental processing reasons, all of that. And I think I mean, obviously the Bears made a lot of changes to their offensive line. Interior offensive line is completely different. Like, um, but they didn't name a left tackle until literally what Monday this week. And I mean, we pretty much knew it's gonna be Braxton Jones, who was the left tackle last year, but you can't really say that they improved at that position, which is the most important position on your offensive line. And so that is a concern, I think, for the Bears going into the season and still a concern for Caleb Williams. And like, they did a lot of work on the offensive line. Don't get me wrong. But the most important piece of the offensive line, they did not change. So that is something to watch, I think, as far as Caleb's development this season. But one thing we wanted to talk about, which relates to processing, is and Seth Wickersham, who is ESPN reporter who's just came out with a book about quarterbacks, which I haven't actually read yet, but I've been really enjoying the excerpts that he's released on ESPN. One of which relates directly to the conversation that we're having, which was actually about Bo Nix, another member of this 2024 quarterback class. And it's about why Sean Payton wanted Bo Nix in particular, which grain of salt here, name someone who has ever talked about a quarterback they really wanted that they didn't get that sucked. Like no one does that. So grain of salt for all of this that like Sean Payton looks pretty good right now because Bo Nix had a good rookie season and they were a good team and they made the playoffs, right? Like, okay. So, but the whole and this came out obviously after the fact, but like Seth was in the moment talking with Sean heading leading up to the 2024 draft. He was like having conversations with him and Sean revealed to him what he calls what is it called? QB processing. His quarterback processing formula, which is how it's this formula he came up with which is how he measures how a quarterback is going to be able to do that thing that is the hardest thing to predict, and the thing that is going to determine your success the most, as we just talked about with rookie quarterbacks, is your decision making. Are you going to be able to do that quickly enough? And that is what separates quarterbacks, bottom line. So Peyton thinks he has figured it out. And honestly, I'm a real believer. I'm going to explain what it is, but I'm a real believer in it, despite the fact that his math, as they say, is not mathing. Like his actual formula is sort of like arbitrary, because what he does is, okay, he looks at rate of negative plays against total dropbacks. And part of the story is Peyton was obsessed with Patrick Mahomes, which again, name a coach who's obsessed with the quarterback that ended up sucking. We'll never hear that
I was
story.
obsessed with
Okay.
Ryan Leaf.
Like, right. Like, we're never going to hear the story of like, oh yeah, I was convinced he was going to be great. I was so mad we didn't get him. And then he ended up being terrible. Anyways, so he's looking at rate of negative plays against total dropbacks. So that's sacks, fumbles, and interceptions rated against how many actual passing attempts that they had in their college career. And then he's looking at their completion percentage, which is not factored into the algorithm. And then the algorithm is him adding the adding up the rate of negative plays against total dropbacks. So like in the instance of let's see, of Caleb Williams here, who has the worst of the quarterback class, first round quarterback class of 2024. He has got the worst processing score of all of them because he's adding it up. So you want to have a low score here. So he had 735 attempts, 83 sacks. That's 11.2. He was sacked on 11.2% of his dropbacks. 32 fumbles. That was 4.4% of his dropbacks or fumbles. 14 interceptions. That was 1.9% of his dropbacks ended with interceptions. Add that all up for a score of 17.5. Okay. So that was the worst score. Now, what did we see last year? We
A lot of
saw
negative
him
plays.
getting sacked at a league high rate, which some of which you could say is on the offensive line, but a lot of that was on Caleb Williams and his play style, his processing style. So I thought that was really interesting. And then, of course, Bo Nix in here. Let's see. Like, this story is written as if Peyton was going after Bo Nix no matter what. Like, even if he'd had the first pick, he would have picked Bo Nix,
Which is
is how it was
definitely
written.
not true because he was
Right.
on when he was a media member, he called Caleb Williams a generational prospect and said every
Right.
team should draft him.
Right.
So there is well, let me stop you right there about the math part because, I love the analytics and stuff. Folks, I know a lot of you out there either own your own business or you are in a management position where you have to hire people, and it can be such a headache. You have to sort through all sorts of resumes of people who aren't qualified, and you end up overlooking some of the best candidates. It's tough. But what is not tough is using ZipRecruiter for your hiring needs. ZipRecruiter finds amazing candidates for you and fast. And right now you could try it for free at ziprecruiter.com/audio. It's just so easy that you have to try it. You can use their smart technology that finds great candidates for you, or you can use the invite to apply button that allows you to reach out to your favorite candidates. There's a lot of ways that you can make ZipRecruiter your best recruiting tool. Ditch the other hiring sites. Let ZipRecruiter find what you're looking for, that needle in a haystack. 4 out of 5 employers who post on ZipRecruiter get a quality candidate within the first day. So try it for free at this exclusive web address, ziprecruiter.com/audio. Again, that is ziprecruiter.com/audio. ZipRecruiter, the smartest way to hire. I think that this
Right.
is some very kind of bizarre back of the napkin math
Yes.
that also has the exact right idea.
Yes.
Now I mean, you have to factor in how many touchdowns the guy threw, how many yards, how many, all the accuracy and
The
right.
positive plays. Yeah.
Right. But I think that the negative plays over history have correlated better to success or failure in the NFL. You shouldn't get sacked in college. I mean, you're not facing Jonathan Grenard in
Right,
college. You're not
right,
facing the elite players of the NFL. You're
right.
facing guys that you should be able to get away from. You shouldn't be fumbling the ball like crazy. You shouldn't be throwing interceptions because at the next level, they're better at intercepting the ball, sacking you, and causing fumbles. So, how are you going to? And also, it's probably telling that you're not getting rid of the football, which, as we know in the NFL, 2.5 seconds is the key number. I remember Tom Moore, the legendary quarterback coach, always talks about 2.5 seconds or less, that everything in the NFL has to happen then. And if you're fumbling the ball and you're getting sacked and things like that in college, well, those guys routinely have 3.5, 4 seconds to throw the ball in the pocket. That means you're not seeing something. And that was my biggest concern about Caleb Williams coming out, was watching him at USC. I thought, well, this is super fun, but the ball's not, it's just not coming out. And if that doesn't happen in the NFL,
It's not gonna
you're
work.
right. You're gonna get killed. And I think so. Sean Payton is sort of barking up the right tree. Analytics
Yes,
people love pressure to sack ratio, how often you get sacked when you get pressured, for the same kind of reason. And I also think that pressured PFF grade has correlated pretty well. And Caleb was terrible at his pressured PFF grade. JJ McCarthy was actually one of the better in the NFL at that, or in college football at that, going into the NFL. I think that there's something there. It's just, we're never
yes.
going to truly be able to pin this down, but I think he had the right concept.
Yeah, and I asked somebody who does analytics that I know to be like, what do you think of the structure of this formula? And he was like, well, in one sense, Peyton's arbitrarily weighting a subset of stats and assuming they'll just add up into something meaningful.
Right.
And he said, generally inadvisable. But on the other hand, he said, given the fact that traditional passer rating ignores those, um, quarterbacks are largely responsible for sack avoidance. And he said, Peyton's intuition to include sack rate is a really good one, which we just talked about. Like, so
Yep.
I do think like it's really interesting. And also, I just had never read or heard about, and I'm sure teams have private formulas that they don't give us. And I'm actually kind of surprised that Peyton would like come out with this, even though it's like, it's not like he invented something that crazy, but it's like, you know, how teams are, everything is a state secret. So I'm sure teams have much more complicated algorithms that they are using that are similar to this,
Yes,
but
for sure.
I don't know what they are necessarily. So it was really interesting to hear someone be like, yeah, this is exactly what I'm looking at. And here's exactly why I like this guy, because Bo Nix had the lowest score, 2.3 of this processing formula. Then it was Penix,
Like in a good way, lowest
4.45.
score in a good
Good
way,
way.
you mean? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Lowest score is your best processing
Yeah.
score per Sean Payton's formula. It was Bo Nix. Then it was Penix, who somehow only had 31 sacks on 1685 attempts. Nuts.
Insane.
Um, and then third place, JJ McCarthy, who 32 sacks, but about half the attempts at Penix, less than half, 713 attempts. Then you had Drake May with a score of 10.5, 69 sacks and 942 attempts. Then you had Jaden Daniels with an 11.9 because he was sacked a lot. But as we talked about too, he got way better at that at LSU. So obviously he played what, 5 years? So like his majority of his negative plays were coming earlier in his college career than later,
Yes.
which
We talked
shows.
about that via text, not on the show. So
Yeah,
if you're
sorry.
not,
We were texting. We were texting.
right.
And then last place was Caleb Williams, 83 sacks and 735 attempts in college. That's 11.2% of his dropbacks in college he was sacked on. So I don't know. I love it. And I actually kind of want to go through like every year's quarterback classes. Like if I have free time coming up, which LOL, but like if I did at some point, like I really kind of want it. Like if I had an assistant, I'd be like, can someone do this, please? Like I would love to go back and just like score like, you know, every class that we've had in the last decade and just see what's turned up. Like, obviously, it's not gonna be 100%, because Jaden Daniels was amazing last year, and per Sean Payton's formula, didn't have a great score and, like, had a lot of negative plays in college. So, you know, that's sort of an outlier for you, but it would be really interesting to go back and, like, see how this has panned out where we with players who are a little bit older so we actually know what's happened in their NFL careers so far.
So what's funny about that? I mean, with Jaden Daniels, the fascinating part with him was that he got sacked a ton and actually wasn't really a very good quarterback until he arrived at LSU. And the biggest question about Daniels was, okay, was it that he had Malik Neighbors and Brian Thomas? I mean, it's just unbelievable receiving core there. Was it that really caused his success? And maybe he just had a great circumstance, and that was really it. And it turned out the answer was no, because he's
No.
unbelievably gifted.
Right.
But he did improve greatly in that area, in the pressure to sack and in the sacks. But it wasn't until he was 23 years old, which really makes me think about Caleb Williams, Anthony Richardson, a number of other
Yeah.
quarterbacks, Sam Darnold that didn't work out, where usually the connection, and this kind of ties into O'Connell, but also this Sean Payton idea as well. You don't I don't think, learn to process and get rid of the football on the field at the NFL level immediately. You kind of are who you are there, and then you have to learn on the fly. It's very, very challenging, especially when you're getting hit like crazy. And Caleb Williams by PFF did lead the NFL in sacks that were responsible for the quarterback. That it was they gave him 17. I'd probably give him more than that, but
Yeah.
they're usually cautious with that statistic to give it to the
Who
quarterback.
was like do
But
you have
it
that in front of you?
well,
Who came after him?
interestingly though, Brock Purdy was second, and then Bo Nix was actually third on this for
Mm.
the sacks he was responsible
Yeah.
for. But he didn't really
Okay.
get sacked that much because the ball came out pretty quickly. But
Right.
I think with quarterbacks learning to see the game at full speed, you need a lot of practice most times. I think CJ Stroud's brain works crazy quick. I think that Brock Purdy's brain works crazy quick. But somebody like Caleb Williams, I think that if he was starting at 23 or 24, might have had a very different experience. And that helped Jaden Daniels. If you took Jaden Daniels out of
Yeah.
Arizona State and threw him in the NFL last year, there is absolutely no way that that guy succeeds. But Anthony Richardson is still like 22 years old. I think he's like the same age as JJ McCarthy, and he's been in the NFL now for 2 years, and he's had a bunch of injuries and all those things. And so I think that these two things can sort of be tied together, that you don't have to be in college if you have freakish skill. You don't have to be the best processor, but you're probably going to need more experience. And hey, Bo Nix, by the way, early in his career at Auburn was not good. And then it wasn't until he was 23, 24 years old where he started to emerge as a much better quarterback. So I even wonder about the development of the human being
Yeah.
that's playing. And I agree with you that in hindsight right now McCarthy wouldn't have played anyway last year. They won 14 games. But in hindsight, I think it's way better that JJ McCarthy is here now starting for the first time as a guy who's been in the league than if they had just said, you know what, we love what we see in practice. Why don't you go out there and lead the 2024 Vikings?
100% agree. And he's 22. Anthony Richardson is 23. It's crazy. These
That is
guys are
crazy.
like they're so young. Yeah. Yeah, and if I were gonna add something to Sean's formula, um, I would definitely I always stand by this even though it's not 100% true, and, like, I've looked up things before to try to, like, prove it out, but it doesn't work. I don't know what my number of, like, dropbacks would be that I would wanna see, but, like, I love a four-year starter, I just do. I don't know why it personally, like, if I was a GM, I would be, like, adding that to my quarterback criteria of, like, I want someone who has played 4 years of college football and, like, has seen, a significant number. And that's not always there's plenty of quarterbacks that have been great with 3 years as a starter or less, but, um, yeah, I would that would be part of my formula personally, I think.
So actually, before that draft, I talked to a couple of scouts, former scouts, so they could talk freely about their
Yeah.
experiences. And one of them said the exact same thing. Like one of them was very skeptical. It was really interesting because one of them was very skeptical on JJ McCarthy because of the dropbacks. And if you actually go back and try to find a comparable quarterback with that few dropbacks and just statistically touchdowns, interceptions, whatever, it's kind of hard to find someone who's drafted as high as he was. Usually they have, bigger
What about
numbers.
Mitchell?
Trubisky, yeah, I mean, he would be in there. And Mark Sanchez was another one because I was
Yeah,
trying to find comparables.
right.
But then another scout that I talked to absolutely loved JJ McCarthy because he said that what he saw was a lot of NFL type throws. And when he's scouting college quarterbacks, he throws out all the bubble screens. He throws out
Sure.
all the we're going to spread everybody and do some crazy stuff and just get the ball out of the guy's hands. And Bo Nix had way more of that on his tape. And so, one of the reasons that his snap to release was so quick, one of the reasons he got so sacked so few times was that he was throwing, I think it was 20% of his passes were screens. And that was what made Penix unique to me is that Penix pushed the ball down the field, but also never got
Right.
sacked.
Right.
And yet, though, he didn't have the same mobility as McCarthy or Nix or Daniels or May or Williams. So, can you win as a pure pocket quarterback? So then he runs a 40 and it's really fast. And I was like, oh, actually, he is fast. I
What?
mean, this
Right.
that was so interesting
So hard.
leading up to that draft. And we still really don't know. So I would love to know like your expected order of how this plays out. And with
Like,
none of
over
us know.
careers,
Yeah,
career-wise.
how about we just do 2025?
Okay, 2025.
Yeah.
Okay. Like, who's gonna have the best year of these
Who's going to
guys?
have the
Okay.
best season from that class? You want me to give you yours and you can think
Better
about or
rank.
mine and you can think about it?
Yeah, you go first. Yeah, you go first.
I mean, I think Jaden Daniels, obviously, like he's already
Yeah,
proven it, goes to the NFC Championship. That guy's incredible. Terry McLaurin
yeah,
didn't get traded. He's going to be fine. I'm still skeptical a bit on Cliff, but, okay. Like he deserves to pimp that home run from last year. Number two, and I don't think this is a homer pick, is JJ McCarthy because I know what he has.
yeah,
I know what he has in front of him,
right,
and it's funny because the percentage of the population that has actually seen McCarthy doing football stuff is point zero 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 zero
right,
one percent, and it's me, and it's like
right,
seven other reporters that were
right.
out there practice for 50 practices over the last 2 years. But having seen all that, I have a good amount of confidence that he can run this offense. And if you can run this offense, you're getting open receivers, tons of weapons. Their second tight end is good. Like that's how far their second running back is good. Their offensive line is better. So I would go with him there. I want to go Penix next. I think he's got a lot to work with there. Zach Robinson was with McVay, and I don't think that it worked well with Kirk, but I think it'll work well with Penix. So I'm going to go Penix third, and then May 4th and Nick's fifth,
And Caleb
and
last.
Caleb last.
Wow. Wow. Okay.
But my skepticism on Nick's is in part because a lot of his best play was against a run of tanking teams and then 4 touchdowns
Yeah,
against Kansas City not playing their
right,
starters. I don't know
right.
about the ceiling there, but maybe I should put because I'm so skeptical on him. Maybe I should put Williams up because May still has nothing to work with. I think May can be good, but he's got nothing to work with in New
Yeah,
England.
yeah. I mean, that's really correct. Like their roster is really hurting. I was gonna say the same thing kind of about like Penix. I'm looking up who did they play last year? Like he was good, but I feel like he played nobody.
Carolina game
And
was amazing, but they were the worst defense in the NFL. Yeah,
yeah,
that
like
helped. Yep.
let's see. Who did they play late? Let's see. Yeah, Carolina. Oh, they did play Washington. That one went to overtime. Okay. New York Giants were not great last year. Yeah, he had the 3 games at the end of the year. So it was Giants, Commanders, Panthers.
Yeah.
So, um, and that's interesting because that's tough to predict what will happen this year. I have a question. McCarthy, did he just play in the one preseason game
Yeah.
this year? Okay. So, I mean, we saw nothing essentially. That's what I thought. I was like, did I miss
No, it
something?
was
Did I miss
7
any
passes, I
more?
think.
Okay, that's what I thought. Okay. All right. So my order will be, let's see, definitely, yeah, Jaden Daniels for sure. Although I do get worried that he scrambled a lot last year. And obviously, like not a new opinion, but I think they're gonna be a little bit smarter about that this year. So I think that'll be important. Daniels. Then I'm gonna go. I agree with I think JJ McCarthy simply because of everything around him in Minnesota for sure, even though we don't have the evidence of like seeing him play NFL football, but like Vikings roster, Vikings coaching, all of that. Yep. McCarthy for sure. Then, um,
This is where it does get hard. It really does get tricky because if you said to me though, if you said you thought Caleb Williams was going to
I
be
know
second, I don't
I
think
might
that's
say
crazy.
Williams. I might say Williams 3rd. I'm torn between Williams or Nix for 3rd because I do think Caleb and I think the Bears overall, I don't think they're gonna make the playoffs. I think the NFC North is, like, too competitive and good for there to be, like, a way for them into the postseason necessarily, but I think they're gonna be a lot I mean, it's not that hard to be better than they were last year, but I think they're gonna be, like, a lot better than last year, and, because Ben Johnson has talked a lot about how, he said they're further along than they were, like, his 1st year in Detroit, but he's talked a lot about how this is a process of getting the offense to the point where he can run things the way he did in Detroit last season. Like they're not going to be able to have the level of sophistication that they did in Detroit last year because they don't have the veteran offensive line, the same quality of veteran offensive lineman as he did in Detroit, and that's so important to what he's able to do in that offense. And then they have to learn it. It's gonna take time. So I think, yeah, that's why I think Caleb I'll put Caleb 3rd. Um, and then I'll do Penix. Oh, no, sorry, Nix, then Penix, then May.
I think that this is so up in the air that if you
Yeah,
said Caleb number one, okay, maybe that's a little crazy because Daniels was so good last year. And
right,
historically, if someone is that good, usually you're not talking about falling off the edge of the table unless there's a serious
right.
injury like Carson Wentz once upon a time, but very rarely other than that. Uh, but if you said second because the ceiling is there, the playmaking is there, and this is where the Ben Johnson factor comes in. And this Flores versus Ben Johnson matchup is so freaking interesting for week one. I think you're going to have a really good sense for this right away. Like, what happens with week one is we can't wait to find out everything. And then the games happen. And you're like, well, it was just 1 week and we can't judge
Right.
everything. But I think you're going to be able to judge a lot of how well he took in what Ben Johnson was selling to him because we know it works. Like at least we
Yeah,
have see this there's like when you do scientific experiment, you have to have a control. Like this is the control. We know that this guy's
yeah,
offense works.
yeah,
So if you can't do it, then you're bad. Like
yes.
period. The other
And
the other
we
Chicago
know it
quarterbacks,
works against the coaches in the same
yes.
division. Yeah,
Yes.
exactly.
Yes. Right. The other,
Yeah,
I mean, because you could have said, well, Matt Nagy doesn't know what he's doing. Eberflus doesn't know what he's doing. Waldron doesn't know what he's doing. On and on and on. And you could have maybe made a good case for that. This
yeah.
guy, you can't. Now, he might be a
He
psycho,
knows what he's doing. Right,
but his
right.
offense works.
Right, and I just have to say that I love I've appreciated so much how, like, every time he has a chance to talk, he's like, "It's not good enough." Like, I love that. It's amazing. It's just so good. It's like, "Yeah, like, cool. That's great." He's like he the standard, whatever, but, like, truly, he is enforcing what appears to be a different standard, and I don't wanna describe him as mean, but it's like he's not happy with where they're at. He said some nice things every now and then throughout camp, but it's, like, very clear that, like, he's like, "No, like, this is not good enough, and we need to get better fast." I think that was, like, a direct quote, like, "We need to get better quickly." So I've just really appreciated hearing that from him and, like, that attitude that he has. It's been
That
interesting to watch.
is also a juxtaposition with Kevin O'Connell that sparks my interest. When we're talking about nature
Right.
versus nurture, it's like, well, Kevin O'Connell is the like if you have a bad rep, he brings you an orange slice and
Yeah,
he puts his
right.
arm around you and he says, "It's okay, JJ. It's all right. We're going to make it through it. I love you. I care about you. Please just do the next rep the right way. Here's what you did wrong." And Ben Johnson climbs to the top of a ladder and
Right,
elbows Caleb Williams off of it or
right,
something. It's
right,
just like the
right.
massively different approaches. And I wonder about like and this is when we talk about this: do organizations and coaches fail quarterbacks? We treat every one of them as if they're just pass or fail, bust or success, franchise or not, as if those are the only things that you can ever be as a quarterback. And every one of them is an individual person who probably needs individual things to be understood, right? Like Steve Young, because I'm a million years old, comes to mind with in Tampa Bay early in his career. He just scrambled around and took a bunch of sacks and did stupid stuff. And when he got to San Francisco, they coached him extremely hard on every single detail. And there might be a correlation there with Caleb Williams because he needed that. He needed to understand every single step of the quarterback position and couldn't really be treated with kid gloves and oh, everything that you do is okay. Not that I think O'Connell is like that. I'm kidding. I think he's incredibly detailed. And I think the difference with O'Connell and most quarterback coaches and most coaches in general is that when he explains something to you, I did a story with him in 2023 where I had him teach me some stuff and
Cool.
I was like ready to go play. I understand one
Yeah,
hundredth of what NFL quarterbacks need to understand.
right,
But I
right.
got it. Like in his office, I got it. And I think that he is able to really, when he sits you down and explains something, you're going to get it. And that might be the thing that we cannot factor is how that relationship works out with the communication of what you're looking for.
100%. And I think, like, yeah, I mean, every I don't know JJ McCarthy. I've never talked to JJ McCarthy or, like, know his personality to, like, know what type of coaching he responds to or, like,
Mhm.
wants, but there was all the reports last year that, like, Caleb wasn't Seth Wickersham again had reported that Caleb, like, wasn't understanding how to watch tape
Right.
efficiently. I think Caleb came back and was like, "Well, no, I know how to watch film, but, like, I don't know how to, like" I mean, there's one thing of just, like, watching film, but, like, you need to be taught how to watch film and, like, what you should be looking for because otherwise you're just gonna be wasting hours and hours and hours missing whatever you should be picking up from what's in front of you. So, um, that was something that came up, and there's been other reporting that, and things that I've heard that, like, he wanted to be coached harder and that, you know, um and Shane Waldron, I remember when Shane Waldron was the offensive coordinator with the Bears, like, I asked some of the Bears players, like, "Well, what's he like?" And they're like, "Well, yeah, he's, like, really nice," and, like, he was which is good for some players, that's
Mhm.
good. That's what they need, that's all they need. But for a young player who, uh, what am I word am I looking for? Like, goals, like, Caleb has big goals. He wants to be better than Tom Brady, I think he said that. Like, he has not shied away from expectations, he's created and stated expectations for himself, and he needs a little bit more and wanted a little bit more, and I think, like, the last staff, probably was just like, "Oh, we don't wanna mess him up, like, we don't wanna, freak him out," because I do think back to the Vikings, Brian Flores, Tua Tagovailoa, that is very well known now that, Tua's talked about how that did not work for him, that relationship, and Flores also, I don't know if he's talked directly about Tua, but he's been very reflective of, like, his own coaching style and has made some changes with, like, how he connects to players on his defense and how he, builds relationships in a way that he didn't in New England, in a way that he didn't in Miami, and so, yeah, I think it's you have to find the balance of, like, what does the quarterback need without going too far, and I think Ben just, like, probably is like, this is just all so bad that I don't really care. Like, it needs to be fixed and we're just gonna do it. And everyone in Chicago agrees with that. Like, I don't think anyone's gonna be like, "You're being too mean." Like, no. They need they needed a kick in the butt and they got it.
There's definitely a line, I think, call it the Patricia line, where you're just
Yeah,
insulting
yeah.
people, or the Zimmer line, where you're just insulting people
Yeah, Zimmer
constantly.
too. That's so true.
Like, this isn't a roast. This is watching film and
Right.
trying to right. So,
But also organizations will do that, like, it's so funny to watch hiring because somebody will be, like, really mean, and the next
yes,
time they hire someone who's really nice, and
every
then
time.
it just
Every
flips.
time.
It was like Mike Zimmer, mean. Kevin O'Connell, nice guy. Matt Patricia, mean. Dan Campbell, tough but nice.
Yes, nice.
Cries in public. Like, you know what I mean?
Yes, yes. No, you're absolutely right. And with the Vikings, they needed that. Like they needed someone. Everyone had been beaten
Yeah,
down, and that's what happens. The mean guy, everyone beats everyone down and gets fired. The nice guy, he sort of lets the inmates run the asylum or whatever you want to call it,
yeah,
like the dog or the tail wag the dog. And so then he's
right.
not hard enough on them. I think actually with Shane Waldron, if I'm not mistaken, the claim to fame was Geno Smith, right? Which
Yes.
Geno was 30, so he already knew all the football stuff. He probably needed someone or preferred someone that would just be nice to him and treat him as a peer as opposed to like I need to teach you
Yeah.
how to play football. So there's so many different layers to this. Let me ask
Shane
you.
is in Jacksonville now, which I just realized.
Oh, I
I did
did not
not
know
know
that.
he was there. What's his job? Passing game coordinator.
Okay. Yeah, well, that kind of that's where you fall to after working with the Bears.
I still don't know what a passing game coordinator does
I
after
think I
asking
think it's
a lot
mostly
of people.
I think it's mostly game planning. I think it's like you
Okay.
stay away from the actual players. You're in an office working on like certain third down and seven, like for that week or something. I think I'm not 100% sure either. I don't really know quality control exactly what that job does either. But
Right.
before we run here, I would love what you think is going to happen on Monday Night
Monday?
Football between the Bear. Are you going to be there? Are you coming?
I am gonna be there. I'm
Oh,
excited.
good. I'll see you then.
Yes, I'm sure we'll be seated hopefully near each other.
I'm sure we'll be eating the finest cuisine in the Chicago press box.
Hey, actually at the preseason game, there was some good stuff going on in there,
Maybe
but
maybe we
my
hammered
tummy
them
did hurt.
enough. Maybe we like
No,
railed on them enough.
Kevin Warren made a huge difference in
Oh, okay.
the food quality at Soldier Field. However, it still hurts my tummy. It's better though. Like, it looks better, it tastes better. There's way more variety. There'd be, like, real salads with, like,
Oh, okay.
several ingredients in the salads, like, there'd be, like, radishes and, like, fennel, orange slices, like, there's actual, like, interesting variety of salads and interesting variety of food where it used to be just, like, Polish sausage every week.
Yes. I also don't know what fennel is. What is that?
It's like a well, I think it's actually a root that grows in the ground, but it's a, like,
Hmm.
seed as well that you can, like, season things with.
Oh,
But I do think it is a plant that's I mean, obviously, if it's a seed, it's a plant, right? Because plants grow from seeds.
this was about Monday Night Football at the beginning, but I don't know
And now
how
we're
we got
talking
to
about
fennel.
fennel.
Fennel sounds
Okay,
like a defensive tackle, like or
it is
fullback,
someone's it's like it's a last name for
like
sure.
Eddie Fennel, a 1980s fullback.
Actually, wait, hold on. Just
The
because we
problem,
were
the
doing
probably is.
I went on Defectors Remember Some Guys football stream yesterday, and one of them did a stream about just entering animal names and seeing, like, which players came up. Oh, I just went on Pro Football Reference and I typed fennel and no one came up. That's shocking. You know why? Because Pennell is a last name.
Yeah,
Let's
yeah.
see. That's what we're thinking of.
It's a little shocking, I guess.
Mike Pennell. Yeah, he, like, plays somewhere. Defensive tackle. Yeah, obviously. Um, yeah,
So the
okay,
game
anyways,
that's happening there.
the game. You know, this is interesting. I actually didn't think of my prediction until right now. I think the Vikings will win. I think it will be close. I think it's gonna be a close game. I think the Vikings will win, and I think probably the downfall is gonna be some offensive turnovers by the Bears. Maybe like a sack fumble, strip sack, maybe a costly interception in the red zone, something like that, I think is maybe gonna be a deciding factor. Maybe Levi Drake Rodriguez gets up in
He's gonna
Caleb's
play.
face.
He's gonna play.
He's gonna play. Let's
I
go.
mean, look, they traded Harrison Phillips away in
Yeah.
part because Jalen Redmond and Levi Drake Rodriguez were so good during training camp. Your guy, if folks don't know that you wrote the Prospect X series, you've been writing that for a while, and Levi Drake
Yeah.
Rodriguez was your guy, and
2024.
seventh round draft pick, kind of out of absolutely nowhere, Texas A&M Commerce, I think was the
Yep.
college.
Yep.
Yep,
Very good
and
pull.
he developed a lot over the offseason. He's ready to go. He's ready to
He
play.
gained I think he gained a significant I don't know how much weight, but he gained weight,
Yeah.
um, which is easy to do when you have a training staff and a nutrition staff that I mean, not easy, but, like, easier.
They didn't
'Cause
have
I
that at
remember
Old Commerce?
no, when I remember he was trying to gain weight in the draft process, and mainly, I believe, by just eating a lot. He was trying to maintain and just and I had lunch with him, and he was like he got, like, a skillet with, like, I wanna say, like, 8 eggs were in it, and I was like, "Oh my god," and then he got, like, a stack of pancakes. He ordered 3 different meals and was really pushing himself to the finish line, and it was, like, almost like I was kinda feeling, like, nauseous, like, watching him eat that much food because it was clear that his body didn't wanna eat that much food, like, he was like, like, "I gotta, stomach this down," but, he's had the drive the whole time. He's been really uh, you know, pushing to get better. So I'm excited. Obviously haven't seen him in person, so I'm excited to see how much he gets to play and if he can make an impact. It'll be fun because
That jump from year 1 to year 2 tells you how much they want it. Like, do you really
yeah,
want it? You should come back looking a
yeah.
lot bigger, stronger, and, quicker. So,
And I did hear too that he got a text from Quasey saying like you're everything. I don't know. I'm paraphrasing, but essentially it was like you are like embodying what our team is, like, what it
oh,
means to be
wow.
a Viking. Yeah, which is, like I don't know how many texts like that he sends out, but that felt like, "Whoa, that's a good call out." That's what you wanna hear from your GM, I would say.
Sounds like the kind of text I send my wife when she's on the road for a few days. Like very intimate. But no, I really think that those guys, Jalen Redmond and Levi Drake Rodriguez, they just were so good in camp that the Vikings were able to do this. Like they can't keep them off the field. And then even
Right.
when Levi was in the third preseason game, because he had missed a couple weeks of practice, so they put him back in there to get some reps. He just destroyed everything in front of his face. So I am extremely interested. Yeah, I mean, no cheering in the press box, but if Levi has the game-winning strip sack, I think you're going to be pretty excited. But
I would love to have a reason to interview him post game, other than to just be like, "Hey, how are you? Let's check in," whatever. I would love to be like, "No, I'm actually, like, writing about you, like, genuinely, like, let's do it." Yeah, it'll be fun. I'm excited.
Well, I am excited to see you on Monday night and to have football freaking back. I'm so glad we
That's
could get
right.
together, talk
Me
football, talk
too.
quarterbacks. This was great.
Thanks for having me.
Kaylin Kahler, ESPN. We'll talk again soon, my friend.
Thank you.